Okay, so whenever new smartphone rumors drop, it feels like everyone, myself included, jumps straight to the camera specs. Or maybe the chip
Yeah,
speed.
that's usually the main event, right? Megapixels to gigahertz.
Exactly. But lately, I've been really intrigued by this kind of quieter buzz. It's about something pretty technical, actually, that some folks are calling the new RAM race.
Ah, random access memory, RAM.
RAM. We're
Yes.
talking RAM.
And what's particularly interesting here is that the rumors seem laser focused on the Samsung Galaxy S26 series.
Right.
The word is it might pack a massive 16 gigs of RAM and like across the entire lineup, not just the top model.
Wow. Okay.
And if
Yeah.
you kind of step back and look at the bigger picture, that number really stands out against what iPhones have now, or even what they're rumored to get soon.
So it's a big
A
difference.
huge difference.
Really right.
But it's not just about, a bigger spec number. The crucial part is why. Why this sudden need for so much memory? And it points pretty directly towards on-device AI, artificial intelligence running right there on the phone.
Yes. And that's exactly why we wanted to do this deep dive today, not just to rattle off specs, but to really get under the hood and figure out what this actually means for the phone in your pocket and, where mobile tech is actually going.
Absolutely.
Our mission really is to cut through all the hype, translate these, let's be honest, kind of complex specs into things you can actually feel, like performance impacts, user experience
And
changes.
also look at the competition, right? How this shakes up the whole mobile landscape.
Totally. Because ultimately, these shifts, they're going to change how you use your phone every single day. It's about kind of future-proofing your tech, maybe, and definitely what you'll be looking for next time you upgrade.
No doubt about it.
Okay, so let's get into the meat of this main rumor, because 16 gigs, that's quite a statement from Samsung for the S26.
It really is.
And potentially across the board, not just the Ultra. That feels like a big shift.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Especially when you line it up against Apple. Let's look at the current iPhones, the 15 series. You've got, 6 GB in the standard and plus models,
Mm.
and 8 GB in the Pro and Pro Max.
Okay.
Looking forward, the iPhone 16 series, the expectation is they'll probably standardize on 8 GB for all models.
Just 8 GB still. Interesting.
And even the next one, the iPhone 17, the rumors there only point to maybe 12 GB.
12, okay.
So if Samsung actually delivers 16 GB with the S26, I mean, that's literally double the RAM of the next iPhone, the 16.
Double.
And still, a solid 33% more than even the rumored iPhone 17. That's significant.
That really puts Samsung's move into perspective, especially thinking about their own history here, because they have done 16 GB before, right? Wasn't that the S20 Ultra?
That's right, the S20 Ultra back in 2020 and the S21 Ultra in 2021. Both had global 16 GB options.
But then they kind of backed off.
They did. For the S22, S23, S24, even the S25, the global max was generally 12 GB. The S25 Ultra had a 16 GB version, but only in some places.
Right, select markets only.
So this S26 rumor,
Mm.
it's not just bumping the number up. It feels like a strategic U-turn, almost. A deliberate choice to go big on memory again.
It's a strategic reversal. Yeah, interesting framing.
And it contrasts sharply with Apple's usual playbook. They've always been, let's say, more conservative on RAM specs.
They rely on optimization, right? Software and hardware integration.
Exactly. Making the most out of what they have within their ecosystem. But, and this is the key thing, the fact that even Apple is rumored to be jumping to 12 GB for the iPhone 17.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear about how their new A18 Pro chip, the neural engine part, is being beefed up for Apple Intelligence.
All right, their own AI push.
It tells you something important. It suggests that even for Apple, the processing demands, especially from AI, are hitting a point where more physical RAM isn't just a nice to have. It's becoming, well, necessary.
So everyone's feeling the pressure from AI, basically. Samsung's potentially going all in. Apple's making bigger jumps than usual.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us back to the core question.
Mm-hmm.
Why RAM? Why now? What's making this, kind of boring spec suddenly so critical? What's the real engine behind this memory arms race?
Well, there's really one main driver, and you touched on it already. It's the escalating demands of on-device artificial intelligence. AI running locally.
Okay.
Think of RAM as your phone's immediate scratch pad. It's the temporary workspace where it juggles these incredibly complex AI algorithms and the huge chunks of data they need, all happening instantly.
Right, the working memory.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And to give you a sense of scale, some of these advanced AI models, like Mistral 7B, In its high-quality version, it can eat up almost 14 GBs of RAM just by itself.
14 gigs just for one model. Wow.
Yeah, and even the more efficient optimized versions might still need around 7 GB.
Okay, that paints a picture.
So it shows just how memory-hungry this on-device AI stuff is.
Right.
And you hear whispers, like Samsung possibly partnering with Perplexity AI for the S26.
I saw that report.
That points to a real commitment to having powerful AI features right on the phone, features that need this kind of RAM capacity.
So not enough RAM could actually slow down the AI even with the fast chip.
Absolutely. It becomes a bottleneck. It suggests AI is shifting the whole performance equation. It's not just about raw chip speed anymore. Memory capacity is becoming just as, if not more, important. RAM isn't just helping the chip, it's enabling the whole thing.
That really is a paradigm shift. Like you said, we've chased processor speeds for so long, and now RAM is stepping into the spotlight.
It seems that way.
So, okay, it enables the fancy AI, but what else? What does 16 gigabyte of RAM mean for, everyday use? For the average person using their phone, what does it unlock for us?
Oh, it makes a huge difference in just the feel of using the phone day to day. First off, multitasking. Much, much smoother.
Less app reloading.
Way less. More apps can just stay open and ready in the background. So switching between, say, your email, a game, and maybe a browser, it should be seamless. No more of that annoying pause while an app relaunches.
Okay, that's a big one. What else?
Application performance itself gets a boost, especially for demanding stuff. Think high-end mobile games, pro-level video editing apps on your phone, graphic design tools.
Things that really push the hardware.
Exactly. Like processing photos in an app like Lightroom. With 16 GB, that could feel practically instant compared to the wait you might get with 8 GB or even 12 GB.
That's a tangible benefit right there. Faster editing. And what about longevity? Does more RAM help the phone last longer usability-wise?
Absolutely. That's the future-proofing aspect. More RAM helps your phone stay feeling fast and responsive for longer, even as apps get more demanding and operating systems get updated over the years.
So it handles future demands better.
Right. And it's not just a phone thing. Look at the wider industry. Microsoft is apparently making 16 GB the minimum RAM for Windows 12.
Really? For Windows?
Yeah, and reports say it's specifically because of AI tools like Copilot needing that headroom.
Wow. I remember when 8 GB RAM on a desktop felt like plenty.
Tells you how fast things are moving, doesn't it?
It really does. So it's not just about feeling faster now, it's about staying useful for maybe an extra year or two down the line.
That's a big part of the value proposition.
Yeah.
So yeah, imagine less frustration with apps closing, faster workflows for creative tasks, and just your phone staying snappy for longer. It's about making the device work better for you.
Okay, got it. Individual benefits are clear. Now, let's zoom back out to the competition. How does Samsung throwing down the 16 GB gauntlet change the game between them, Apple, and, the other big Android players?
Well, first, it definitely cranks up the heat on the Samsung versus Apple rivalry.
Naturally.
Samsung widening that RAM gap plays right into their historical strength, pushing the raw specs, having the biggest numbers.
Right, the spec kings.
It puts real pressure back on Apple. They need to keep pace, especially now that Apple Intelligence is a major selling point.
Yeah.
They can't have their AI features feel sluggish because of RAM limits.
So Apple might have to accelerate their RAM upgrades even faster than planned.
It seems likely. And what's fascinating is, like we said, despite having totally different approaches, historically Samsung pushing hardware, Apple optimizing software AI is kind of forcing them both down the same path towards more RAM. It's this subtle convergence driven by AI needs.
Interesting. But it's not just Apple they're competing with, right? What about the others?
Absolutely not. This move, this 16 GB push, you have to see it also as a direct response to the Chinese manufacturers.
Yeah.
Companies like Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, they've actually been offering phones with 16 GB, sometimes even 24 GB of RAM for a little while now, often as standard on flagships.
Oh, right. They've been quite aggressive with specs.
Extremely. So Samsung putting 16 GB potentially across the S26 line, that's about defending their premium turf, matching those benchmarks, and maybe trying to win back some market share from those competitors.
So it's a global strategy hitting multiple fronts. It really does sound like this isn't just, one company making a move, but a broader shift across the whole industry.
It definitely feels that way.
Yeah. Are there any potential downsides we should be aware of? Like, does packing in so much RAM hit the battery harder or maybe drive up costs significantly?
That's a valid concern, and yeah, something manufacturers definitely wrestle with. More RAM can mean more power draw.
Makes sense.
But that's where newer memory tech comes in. Things like LPDDR5X RAM, which is designed specifically to be more power efficient, help offset that battery drain.
Yeah.
And faster storage, like UFS 4.0, is also crucial, so the system can actually access all that data quickly. But the big picture trend, the global market for memory and storage is forecast to explode, maybe over $400 billion by 2036.
Wow.
And the main driver, yep, AI demand. It shows where the investment and focus are heading.
So the tech is evolving to support the need.
Exactly. And the core idea here is that the AI smartphone isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's becoming the next big battleground. How well your phone handles complex AI tasks on the device, that's going to be a key differentiator. And RAM, it's the foundation enabling all of that.
So it's really about redefining what a flagship phone is. It's not just screen, camera, battery. It's becoming about its native AI processing power.
Precisely.
Are you, the listener, ready for your next phone to be fundamentally an AI smartphone? It's a shift in thinking. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. After digging into all this, what's the big takeaway? It really feels like this potential 16 GB RAM in the Galaxy S26. It's way more than just a spec bump.
Oh, definitely.
It's a clear strategic move, right? Driven hard by this tidal wave of on-device AI. And it's going to ripple through everything, from how smoothly your apps switch to how long your phone actually feels useful.
Couldn't agree more. The AI smartphone era, it's not coming, it's here. And memory capacity, RAM, it's moving right up there alongside processing power as a key way these phones will compete and differentiate themselves.
And seeing both Samsung and even Apple in their own way, pushing RAM specifically because of AI, it signals this tighter link, this co-evolution between the hardware and the AI software.
Yeah, the development cycles are just going to get more intertwined. Hardware has to keep pace with AI ambitions, and AI will be designed around what the hardware can actually deliver on device.
It's a feedback loop.
Exactly.
So maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. As this on-device AI becomes more central, more defining for our phones, how might your basic expectations change? What you think a smartphone should be able to do, and crucially, how much memory it actually needs to do it.
Yeah, that's the big question. Is what kind of AI magic, stuff that maybe needed the cloud before, could potentially run entirely in your hand if RAM wasn't the limiting factor anymore? What possibilities does that unlock?